Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Astrological Intentions. I am your host, Alex Reevy, along with the meaningful meditator herself, Sandy Reevy.
Hey, hi everyone.
It is episode 349, the week of March 31st. Let's get right into it. In the transits, we start off with April 4th, Friday, Saturn sextile Uranus, Mars trine Saturn, Mars sextile Uranus for a Grand Trine.
Grand Minor Trine is forming.
And April 6th, Sunday, Sun sextile Jupiter.
Popular ops.
And Venus retrograde trine Mars.
Making it work.
Then on the horizon, we have our upcoming Neptune and Aries Chatting with the Stars webinar, our Venus cazimi Sun Talisman webinar, and of course, our Italy retreat for 2025. So stay tuned for this episode of Astrological Intentions.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you. Say you are the one you will answer to when this life is done. Don't waste a minute, jump in the river. Wash yourself clean so you can deliver you.
Hello, meaningful meditator.
Oh, it's one of my favorite things to do. And I go up on my beanbag chair, which is my first beanbag chair ever. And I got it from you guys for Christmas a couple years. That's what I asked for.
Mm-hmm.
So I could.
You asked Santa for a beanbag.
I've never had one, and I'm the 1950s baby, and so I asked for a beanbag, and I got it, and I put it at the very top of my stairs,
Mm-hmm.
and so I can be as close to the outside rooftop.
Right. Well, you might need to explain a little bit because not everyone's staircase looks like yours, but right at the top of your staircase is a bunch of windows and a door that goes out to your rooftop patio. So it is really nice that you get to be there right in your little cocoon of experiencing that sunshine, even when it's freezing cold in Chicago.
Right. So I sit there a lot in the winter times. That's why I wanted the beanbag chair, because I can move it around and it's, I can lounge in it. So I do my meditations up there. So yeah, I love it. All right.
So yeah, let's get into the transit. So we kind of supersonic speed through the week, and we start with the first astrological transit being Friday, April 4th, and it's a doozy. So it's Saturn sextile Uranus, Mars trine Saturn, and Mars sextile Uranus. So usually we split these up, but because we're describing a minor grand trine, this is why we're talking it all at once.
Right. We have to think that the bigger, if we don't close our eyes, actually, but if we think in our mind's eye that the biggest combination here is the trine from Mars to Saturn. And these two guys don't come together that often, particularly in a trine. These are the two malefics. And, neither one of them are strong. And actually, Mars is quite debilitated here in his fall in Cancer, but they're both in water signs. And really, these two planets really are, Mars is the action and Saturn is the break, right? So when they move together in the emotional water placement, they really want to try and see how they can cooperate. They want to see how we can, move forward in a stable condition, right? And this is the third time that Mars has come by this area. And of course, they're at 24 degrees. This is the third time. Then we look and think, okay, Saturn has moved to a sextile with Uranus at 24. Uranus is in the sign of Taurus. Now, Susan Goodell, and we just did our Patreon April chatting with the stars forecast. And this is a money market cycle. This begins a 45-year monetary cycle in the markets, which is why she's a financial astrologer. So she said, that this is an interesting time, and this is the first of three of these. So Saturn is coming into the sextile, which says opportunities. Saturn is that stable one, that disciplined one, that limiting one, and is making an opportunistic approach to Uranus. So there's some sort of like control of fluctuation there. So then when we look at the other side of that, is Mars is also making that sextile to Uranus. So it's like these three planets are all in a easy aspect to one another.
A throuple.
So, huh?
A throuple.
They're all working together for the right solutions. So, let's kind of watch what occurs this week that may come to a more of a kind of resolution on April 4th. This is interesting
And
because
so can you explain a little bit about like what a grand trine is versus a minor grand trine?
a grand trine is when we have three planets all at 120 degrees apart.
Mm-hmm.
So that's 360 degrees.
Right.
That
So like 3
encompasses
points, and it's like a
like a big triangle.
right. But with what is that? Like an isosceles triangle, or maybe like an all equal triangle.
And I don't know. A minor grand trine is it's all in one section of the chart. It's a grand trine, or excuse me, it's a trine with two sextiles.
Got it. Okay.
Because it's nice because the two sextiles form the one point of the third planet, right? It's these two are together. I know you're listening. These two are trine, and there's one that's in between at the midpoint of the trine, which creates automatic sextiles. So these are both looking at this one planet that has come into position. So
And that one planet is which one?
Is Mars.
Okay.
So just it's interesting too because we've got two of these planets in Venus ruled signs. Uranus is in Taurus at 24 degrees. Saturn's in Pisces at 24 degrees. And in a few days, Venus is going to turn direct at 24 degrees. So there's this, and Venus is the ruler of two of these planets. So really like this, the spirit of togetherness, spirit of cooperation, right? This is the two malefics are meeting up with the awakener, Uranus. And two of these are ruled by Venus, who's been retrograde and who is now just getting ready to move forward in the next week. In fact, on Monday, so Friday, here we are, the 4th, and she moves direct on Saturday, the 12th. Sorry, Saturday, the 12th, a week later. Yeah.
And so what would be like a good practical exercise for a minor grand trine forming? This is maybe looking and trying to find some teamwork.
Yeah,
to
like
make some
hold
action.
hands. Like take the opportunity to kind of do a kumbaya where you're all holding hands and kind of not running in a circle because it's not a whole grand trine, but it's understanding that there's maybe a mediator blending, and maybe it's networking. This person needs to meet this person, right? Like you're patching things up, you're putting things together.
Or maybe even appointing a leader to kind of give direction to a coach, mediator.
Yeah, it's they're all working for the correct formula. They each have something to offer to make something work.
Mm,
So, it's a Friday, so it might be something that's a good networking day.
okay. And moving on to Sunday, April 6th, we have two transits. The first is Sun sextile Jupiter.
Yeah, this is the popular opportunity, Jupiter's still in shadow here, which really leads us toward the sun's approval of what has been brewing over the last 6 months. The sun is making this opportunistic aspect to Jupiter, and Jupiter's not retrograde anymore, but things that Jupiter brings, opportunities and enthusiasm and optimism. Sun is granting this is approving
Mm-hmm.
maybe what he has been working on. So you might move toward the popularist of the opportunities that you have.
Okay. So, and maybe like it could be a little bit of a moment of noticing the abundance around you of those opportunities. Because sometimes we can get very close-minded and think, well, that industry is completely saturated. They don't need one more blah, blah, blah. And we can't seem to find maybe a connection between two possibilities. And there's always connection because really it all looks like some sort of spider web. Everything's like really like intertwined and connected, and noticing those opportunities too can be a really great moment of just, wow, I have the world right in front of me. I have all of this opportunity.
And really, we could call that Sunday Fun Day, right?
Okay. Yeah,
Because
Sunday,
it's
Monday.
Sunday, and even the next aspect, that's we start with a sextile that I just mentioned, and we also have the trine, and the
So,
trine.
and then we start the same day, Venus retrograde trine Mars.
Yeah. And this is the second of three passes that Venus is making to a trine with Mars. And so this is that sexual union. This is the hieros gamos of making things work. The first one was in January 25th
Hmm.
of 2025. So January 25th. And it doesn't finish until May 22. So this is just a halfway point of these two looking at each other and saying, hey, do we give love a chance? All right. Should we be more compassionate by making an offer of support? Right? Like, hey, let's work on something. Let's work on this together.
Hmm.
Right? I'll help you out, you help me out. This is kind of that sacred union, the hieros gamos, where we move into the male female attraction,
And
whether
even with that,
or not.
even with Venus being in retrograde, that is a time of reflection of what values. And maybe if it has to do something with a relationship, then it's a good time to consider like what is the value that both parties are getting out of this relationship, business relationship, romantic relationship, family dynamic. Yeah.
I mean, she's
What's the value?
retrograde, but she's pretty strong here. She's exalted. Mars is not. Mars is in fall. So she really, even retrograde, has a little bit of a upper hand. She's also a morning star now.
So
So
maybe that's the
morning
woman
star
coming
has
forward to mention.
has more of that protesting kind of like I'm moving forward. I come up before the sun. I'm more
Hmm.
Promethean. I set my sights early and ahead.
Hmm.
So she's way stronger than Mars. And it's a trine. It's like water, water,
Yeah.
more water. So it could be a very emotional day. That's why I call
Right.
it give love a chance.
Yes.
Right.
Well, and that ends the week, but we do want to mention there's two transits happening early on Monday morning, April 7th. So let's go over those real quick. We have Venus retrograde conjunct Saturn.
Right now she's moving and she's making a second of three movements to Saturn. Now, we could look at that when we see any planet or a malefic planet like Saturn is moving with a benefic planet. Oftentimes, we could say that that malefic planet is harming the benefic planet.
Right.
But again,
Is that the
Saturn,
case here?
it's not. They kind of work themselves out because Saturn is a superior planet, so he does have rule and authority because that's his role.
Gotcha.
But the Venus in her own sign, Venus in her exalted sign. So I really want to give more offer to her where she's offering a helping hand, right? Because Saturn's not real strong in Pisces, and she is real strong in Pisces. So, interesting to write down what today is about. And this is where I'm more interested in this thing I'm about to say. So on Monday the 7th, or even on Sunday the 6th, write down what today or this time in your life is about. Because this is the degree, 25 degrees of Pisces is where Saturn begins his shadow. And so what that means is Saturn returns here in December of 2025, comes right back to this 25 Pisces area for a sort of graduation of sorts. So what do you want to graduate from come December? Right? It's kind of like, are you in a class? Do you want to learn something? Do you want to commit to something? Do you want to make a promise? What is it you want to say yes to? I will work on this, right? Because it's Saturn. And so he's going to go all the way up to 1 degree of Aries and come all the way back to 25 of Pisces and finish that in December. So it kind of gives us like, hey, what do we want to have done by the new year, right?
Okay.
So I know what you'll be working on, which is
yes, we
so
do.
beautiful with this energy, right?
Right. A wedding.
Yeah.
And so the second transit of Monday the 7th is Mercury stations retrograde. Okay.
Direct.
Oh, direct.
He's in retrograde. That the two personal planets are retrograde right now. Of course, she stays retrograde for 40. This time it's 41 days. He stays retrograde for half that time. So she started her retrograde March 1st. He started his March 15th. He's coming out of it the 7th, April 7th. But he's here at 26 Pisces. And again, we can see that this area of the sky is a hot spot right now. These late degrees of Pisces are hot, and so are the early couple degrees of Aries. So lots going on in that area, which is including the world point. So the world is involved in all of these back and forth and movement and yes,
right.
no, and stop and go, and that's not right, and that's not true, and this is true, and it's just like, right? So let's count that Mercury pauses here for 4 days and ask the question, what are you about to do? Have you considered all your angles? Have you considered have you felt in and created something new? Can you imagine a new thought process for you? Do you have a new dream? So it's like if you have a yes, and I hope you do have a yes, so that you're starting to move and go now.
Yep.
So,
right.
And we'll talk more about that later.
Yes.
When we get to next
Perfect.
week.
All right. Well, don't forget that you can follow along with these transits personally by downloading your astrology chart on our website. Links are in the description. And also, if you need a little bit of help with what the different planets, signs, houses mean, make sure to download the astrology guide as well. Let's move on to the horizon, where we want to invite you all to the Neptune and Aries Chatting with the Stars webinar that's happening April 9th. And Sandy and Susan are coming together on Patreon, so you need to be a member in order to see this. But Neptune and Aries is a big deal. Tell me about it.
I mean, in our lifetime, it hasn't happened since 1861 till 1874. And so we're getting this Neptune, the planet of illusion, delusion, dream, imagination, real, not real, fake, fantasy, spirituality, healing, religion. Oh my gosh, he represents so many things. Right. Is coming out of his own sign of Pisces, where he really liked being since for the last couple of years, well, the last like 14, 15 years. Okay. He's going to bump back into Pisces in October and then be completely done with Pisces by January of next year, 26. So just want to what we're going to do is in this, is do some, slides and some discussions on, all we can do is go backwards to say, hey, what happened the last time, right? And we'll go back 160 years behind that and see what happened back there, because that can give us a scenario of what was discovered or what was invented or what occurred, what kind of actions. Yeah. And can I just go over a few?
A few, because we need to save some for the webinar.
Machine guns.
Wow.
Typewriters. Genetics were discovered. So it really is a time for pioneering new religion and philosophical concepts, right? It's doing something new. It's Aries. It's got to start something, right? So I don't know. I really like it for self-awareness and for self-creativity.
Okay. And so, yeah, this webinar is going to be wonderful. Sandy and Susan do these often, and they will share some practical exercises, some big ideas behind that big shift that's going to be coming over the next year. So also don't forget that you can watch now and download the Venus Cazimi Sun Talisman workshop, and your talisman will be in the mail to you whenever you're ready to go with this. So it was a really wonderful workshop that we hosted, and everyone was just so open, so wonderful, wanting to learn more about what this transit means intrinsically and for the world at large, and really doubling down on the intention, which is help me out.
No, it's about, I am worthy, or to be worthy of my own self-love and my own self-acceptance.
Yes.
Right? Because Venus is about our worth and our value. And in Aries, it's about how we accept ourselves and how we love ourselves. So
it was beautiful.
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I love those. I love ceremony.
Yes. And then just to end the episode with, don't forget about the 2025 Tuscany, Italy retreat. Sign up, registration is open. We do have a few more spots available. So if you are free October 4th to the 11th, we of course would love to have you there.
And I just want to remind you that we still have an early bird until the first week in May. So
you get a big discount
on your discounted price now before the first week in May.
Yes. Yeah. Well, everybody, thank you so much. We got to head to the next thing real quick, so we have to end the episode here today. But thank you so much for listening in, and we will catch you all next week. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.
I say go do you. Now travel far, share your stories and earn your scars. It's you. Say you are the one you will answer to when this life is done. Don't waste a minute, jump in the river. Wash yourself clean so you can deliver you. The story of you, the story of you. The story of you, the story.